So we're going to talk about Adam, Eve, their relationship with God, and how the occurrences back in Genesis applies and still applies to where we are today in the whole community, and how we talk to each other, how we communicate with one another, how we live amongst each other, and just how we associate and how we function as a community and as a unit and as a family. The miseducation of Adam and Eve. We're going to go from chapter 2 of Genesis and the entire chapter 3 of Genesis, okay? So things we want to talk about today in this lesson. The creation of man and his purpose, right? Right with God, how we getting right with God again. The fallout between God and man. There was a pivotal point. We'll talk about that pivotal point when things change. And then last, where does God fit within man and woman? We're talking about how and where God fits within the relationship of man and woman and how that triangle works. So let's get straight into the subject, okay? Genesis chapter 2, verses 5 through 7 says, "Now no shrub had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to work the ground. But streams came up from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. The Lord God said, 'It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him.'" Think about that. Adam was doing his job so well for a specific amount of time that God thought about that. God, in his heart, thought about his creation and said to himself that, "I need to make you a helper." That's a pretty good relationship, right? We think about the world today where you might have a job and you're doing well at your job. You may be overperforming, but what happens in that standpoint is that they don't give you help. They give you more work, right? That's the irony behind it. We got the 80-20 rule where 80% of work is done by 20% of the people, but the 80% is still not enough. So we're going to give you more work instead of giving you more help. In 18, God said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." 19 says, "Now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds in the sky. He brought them to man to see what he would name them. And whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name." So the man gave names to all the livestock, the birds in the sky, and all the wild animals. But for Adam, no suitable helper was found. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. And while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and then closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. Okay, lot to digest, but it's very, very simple. So God created woman for man. Man looked at woman, he was like, wow, in awe and just amazing. I mean, honestly, today you look at your wife, you look at your spouse as a man, and I know we're gonna spotlight the man for right now. We'll come back to the woman. Think about every time you look at your wife, you care about her, you love her, and it's funny how every time you can look at her and you can just be in amazement. And I think that's what happened whenever Adam saw Eve for the first time. And he pretty much said, and he pretty much declared, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." Very simple, right? You are woman because you were taken from man, M-A-N.